Have you ever wondered why the words you speak shape the world around you? Not just emotionally, not metaphorically, literally. What if language was never just communication, but creation itself? What if the most powerful spell ever cast was spoken by you, every single day, without even knowing it? This is not a metaphor. This is a return. A return to something buried, sealed beneath time and empire and ego. A formula so old, its origin is not in any one language, but in vibration itself. This is the IAM formula, and it begins with you. Before we speak, you must understand what it means to listen. Not with your ears, but with the part of you that existed before your name. The ancient ones taught that reality itself bends to will, but only when will is spoken with authority. Not shouted, not begged, declared. I am. 2 words, the oldest magic, the most dangerous prayer, the engine of all becoming. What follows is not philosophy, it is law. It was first etched in flame into the walls of pre-Egyptian temples, carved into bone tablets, buried beneath desert catacombs, hidden by kings, burned by empires, whispered by those who knew and never needed to be seen. This is their record. The first passage reads, I am is not description, it is instruction. Let that sink in. Every time you say I am, the universe does not interpret. It obeys. The mind does not filter, it fulfills. When you say I am broken, you are not reporting your condition, you are commanding it. When you say I am whole, the body listens. Reality adjusts. This is not belief, this is structure. This is how the world was spoken into form, the original breath, the first light, the silence before sound that uttered, I am. Every identity you wear, every story you carry, every limitation you claim. All of it rides on what comes after those 2 words. The ancients knew that you don't become something after you achieve it. You become it the moment you declare it. They didn't manifest wealth. They didn't visualize health. They announced it before the world agreed. That was the secret. Speak it before it exists, and the world has no choice but to respond. Because I am is not about fact. It's about force. Hidden inside the original manuscript were glyphs, not letters, not runes, symbols of frequency. These were not meant to be read. They were meant to be spoken, sung, echoed into the field of creation. That field, what science now calls the quantum fabric, responds to intention shaped by vibration. The words you speak into the air are not wasted. They ripple, they record, they return. The book says, he who speaks, I am with fear, becomes fear. He who speaks, I am with faith, becomes God. These weren't metaphors, these were instructions. The ancient mystics used the formula to reshape their bodies, to rewrite illness, to call forth relationships, kingship, land, peace. The formula was feared, that's why it was hidden. The scroll continues, the greatest theft in history was not of gold or land, but of this. The I am was stolen from the people and buried beneath robes and rituals, replaced with guilt, with doctrine, with names not your own. You were not born broken. You were taught to say, I am broken. You were not born unworthy. You were conditioned to speak it into your own life. The formula corrects that, but only if spoken with authority, and to do that, you must unlearn the noise. The next page reads, silence is not emptiness, it is the womb of words. Be still, and you will hear the echoes of what you once knew. The glyphs on this page are called words of realignment. You will not understand them with your intellect. But if spoken aloud, calmly, with presence, they will restore your inner structure. They are Anu Ra Elom, I am that I am. Sereth Kai, I am the voice and the source. Haresh Shah, I am no longer bound. Speak these. Don't just say them, speak them. Not to others, to yourself, to the cells in your body, to the story you've been trapped in, to the mirror, to the fear, to the past. Every word of I am reprograms your future. Every time you say it, you choose your next self. Do not forget this. The I am formula is not a spell to be memorized. It is a mirror. It shows you who you are and dares you to say something greater. When this manuscript was first found, the last line on the first scroll was smudged, burned slightly. But what could be recovered said this: You do not have to become something, you only have to remember you already are. In the next passage, you will learn the origin of the formula's exile, the moment it was banned, and the force behind it. But before you turn the page, I ask you again, who are you when you say, I am? That answer is your reality. That answer is your power. And if you're ready to reclaim it, speak it now. Do you know why some truths vanish while lies endure? Why wisdom that sets you free is always harder to find than chains that keep you still? The answer is simple. Power is dangerous to those who wish to control. And the I am formula, spoken with knowledge and faith, was the greatest threat ever whispered beneath the stars. The second scroll begins with an event buried beneath 1,000 names. The banishment. It reads, "The Council of 11 saw that men who knew I am became unstoppable. They healed without permission. They ruled without bloodlines. They manifested without labor. And so, the words were condemned. At the dawn of empire, kings and priests did not fear demons. They feared the farmer who could speak rain into existence, the widow who could call love back into her life, the child who said, I am fire, and burned with joy no ruler could contain. And so the scrolls were seized. Not all at once, quietly, strategically. The formula was renamed blasphemy, and in its place they gave the people fear, titles, guilt, systems. They replaced I am with you are not. You are not good enough. You are not worthy. You are not allowed. And the people forgot, or thought they did. But the soul does not forget. It aches when truth is missing. And so the formula survived, not in books, but in breath, passed in secret, hidden in lullabies, chants, whispered between the heartbeat and the silence. The manuscript continues. The formula was hidden in 7 languages, scattered across tribes, tongues, and temples, each a piece, none complete, until now. The version you hold is the first full restoration of the I am formula in over 2,000 years. It is not a translation. It is a transmission, and your reading of it is no accident. You were drawn to this moment. Because your soul remembers. The scroll goes on. What you speak, you seed. What you declare, you shape, but only when spoken from belief, not hope. Hope waits, belief creates. The ancients had no word for try. They only had speak, shape, become. The moment you say I am with conviction, you become architect and builder in one. In that instant, the future must align, and that is why the formula was feared. Because it made gatekeepers irrelevant, it made systems obsolete, it made you sovereign. The scroll then offers a warning. Do not use I am to serve fear. The formula is neutral, but creation is not. You will receive what you announce, even if it destroys you. Many in history who discovered fragments of the formula unknowingly used it against themselves. I am cursed, I am weak, I am doomed. And so they were, because the universe is not sentimental, it is obedient. The manuscript urges you to pause before every I am. It says, let no I am leave your lips that you do not wish to see carved into the days ahead. On the back of this scroll, etched into gold leaf, is a sequence of affirmations, known as the 7 pillars of I am. These were spoken each morning by the temple initiates in the cities before Babylon. They were not meant to attract things. They were meant to align the speaker to the source within. Speak them aloud now, and speak them as truth. I am awake. I am whole. I am aligned. I am the creator of my experience. I am the gatekeeper of my mind. I am the breath of possibility. I am that I am. These are not wishes. These are structures. They realign the water in your body. They reset the neurons in your brain. They retune your frequency to that of clarity, power, and divinity. Say them for 7 days, and you will feel the shift, not because the words are magic, but because they remind the world who you really are. In the next section, the manuscript details the first activation, a process used by the original scribes to anchor the formula into their daily lives. But you must ask yourself now, will you speak I am with caution, or with command? Will you whisper it from habit, or declare it from truth? The formula is not a promise, it is a choice. And if you're still listening, then you're ready to. Are you ready to stop waiting for change and start commanding it? The ancients didn't wish for a better life. They spoke it into alignment. The first activation is not a ritual, it's a reset, a reordering of the self at the deepest level. The manuscript calls it the moment of declaration. Before the first activation, the early initiates were stripped of all identity, titles, roles, and names. They would fast in silence for 3 days, listening only to the breath. Why? Because before you speak "I am," you must know what you are not. The scroll reads, "He who does not release the false self will only dress his chains in sacred words." The first activation begins with awareness. You must ask yourself, without judgment, what have I been calling myself? I am tired. I am unlucky. I am lost. I am cursed. Every time you say it, you embed the pattern deeper. The first activation is about interrupting that pattern with intention. The book outlines 3 steps. The first is extraction. Write down every "I am" you've spoken in the past week that you would not wish to become permanent. Do not censor. Do not justify. Just reveal. This is not punishment. It's pattern mapping. The second step is reclamation. For each negative declaration, write its opposite, but not in hope. In ownership, not "I want to be strong, but I am strong." Not "I hope I can heal, but I am healing now." The third step is embodiment. The ancients believed that words unaccompanied by sensation had little power. They would stand barefoot on the earth, spine straight, eyes closed, and speak the "I am" statements slowly, one by one, with breath and full body awareness. The body must feel the truth it is told. So you do the same. Stand tall, breathe deep, and speak, "I am free from every name that was never mine. I am aligned with the truth of who I really am. I am light. I am love. I am strength. I am the source of my own becoming." These are not words. These are tuning forks. When you speak them with full presence, you change frequency. And once your frequency changes, everything that matches the old one begins to fall away. That's why people leave. That's why jobs end. That's why breakdowns happen after breakthroughs. It's not failure, it's alignment. The book warns, do not cling to what crumbles when the "I am" rises. You are not losing things. You are shedding what was never built on truth. The first activation is not a one-time event. It is the beginning of your return. The manuscript then offers a practice to deepen this process, a spoken mantra known as the Chainbreaker Declaration. It was used by those escaping emotional slavery, guilt, fear, and identity given by others. Speak it slowly, deliberately. Feel it. I am no longer bound by words that were never mine. I am the end of the lie and the start of the truth. I am what I choose to be from this breath forward. Speak this daily, and watch what leaves. The book concludes this passage with a reminder etched in crimson ink. Your life cannot rise above your language. Speak higher. In the next chapter, the manuscript reveals the law of echoes, the hidden principle that explains why certain "I am" statements return faster than others, and how to harness it to accelerate manifestation. But before you continue, ask yourself now, what have I been creating with my words? And am I ready to create something greater? Because the truth is, you always were. You just forgot the formula. Now you remember. So say it. Not quietly, not fearfully. Say it like someone who finally knows. I am. Have you ever wondered why some affirmations feel like magic and others fall flat? Why certain declarations seem to manifest in days while others take years, or never come at all? The ancients had a name for this mystery. They called it the law of echoes. The manuscript explains, every "I am" is a sound. Every sound echoes. The speed of return is based on 2 things, frequency and clarity. Just like a mountain echoes louder when you shout clearly, the universe responds faster when your "I am" is pure. Not wishful, not doubtful, pure. When you say, "I am rich but feel poor," the echo is distorted. The field hears confusion. When you say, "I am healthy but fear disease," your vibration muddies the command. The formula does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you believe. And belief is measured in vibration. The scroll continues. The speed of your echo depends on your alignment. You are always speaking. The question is, are you clear? The ancients practiced resonance matching, a technique to harmonize belief with language. Here's how it works. You choose one I am statement. Just one. Not 10. Not a list. Simplicity amplifies power. Choose, I am abundance, or I am love, or I am peace. Then you speak it slowly, out loud, and listen. Not just to the words, but to what stirs inside you. Do you feel tension, doubt, resistance? That's the misalignment. That's the reason your echo is delayed. It's not punishment, it's physics. The scroll states, the universe echoes only what is undivided. What is split returns shattered. To repair the split, the mystics would sit in silence, eyes closed, and speak the chosen phrase again and again. Not to the world, but to the body, to the soul, until the vibration felt smooth, until the body believed it. Speak it until it feels like memory, they said, not like a dream. Like a return. This is not affirmation, this is attunement. Like tuning a string on an ancient instrument, you keep adjusting the I am until the sound no longer creates dissonance inside you. This process, when practiced daily, collapses the echo gap. It brings your reality faster. Why? Because the field no longer needs to untangle your contradictions. It receives a clean signal. And it returns it, quickly. The book offers a mantra, meant to be spoken when you feel blocked or stuck. I am the frequency of clarity. I am no longer divided. I am heard. I am answered. Speak it whenever your faith wavers. Speak it when your reality seems slow. Speak it to realign. The scroll warns, doubt is not failure. It is static. Do not curse the static. Clear it. You are not failing when you don't manifest quickly. You are learning to transmit clearly. That's the work. That's the mastery. The law of echoes teaches you patience not as delay, but as refinement. If the echo is slow, don't ask what's wrong, ask what am I still doubting? The manuscript then shares a parable, a short story told by the elders of the high desert temple. A boy went to the mountain to speak his I am. He shouted, I am powerful. But the echo did not return. He climbed higher, I am powerful. Still no echo. He shouted until his voice broke. Then, in silence, he whispered, I am afraid I am not enough. And that is what echoed back. He wept. And for the first time, he understood. The mountain doesn't echo your surface, it echoes your truth. So he sat. He healed. He forgave. He breathed. And then he said, with trembling but clarity, I am ready. And the mountain roared it back, tenfold. The lesson is simple. You do not get what you speak. You get what you believe. And the formula works best when the two become one. The scroll ends this section with a command. Do not chase your echo. Clean your voice. In the next passage, the manuscript reveals the three forbidden I ams. Phrases so destructive they were banned from the ancient tongue because when spoken repeatedly they cursed entire lineages. But before we open that page, ask yourself this. What have I been echoing? And am I ready to refine it? Because when your I am is clear, your world will move faster than ever before. And not because it changed, but because you did. Have you ever noticed how certain phrases feel heavier when you speak them? As if the moment they leave your lips, something cold brushes past your spirit. The ancients believed some I am declarations didn't just shape your world, they broke it. They called them the three forbidden I ams. These weren't merely negative. They were considered distortions. Lies so convincing, they infected the soul like poison, passed from one breath to the next. The manuscript begins with a warning in red. Speak not these names in idle voice, for they call forth shadows that do not forget. The first forbidden I am is this. I am nothing. On the surface, it may sound like despair, but to the ancient ones, it was more than sadness. It was a severing. When a being declares, I am nothing, the connection to source, identity, and divine begins to erode. The scroll explains, to say I am nothing is to reject your own origin. The Creator knows itself through you. When you deny that, the world around you collapses in sympathy. You are not nothing. You are possibility in motion. You are breath made flesh. To say otherwise is not humility, it is destruction. The second forbidden I am is this. I am alone. Not I feel alone, that is honest, that can heal, but I am alone, declared as a truth, calls forth isolation from the fabric of reality. The manuscript reads, "No soul is born alone. No path is walked in silence, but those who wear I am alone will begin to manifest its echo in every room, even when surrounded by others." This phrase was feared because it rewrote perception. The speaker would no longer see connection. They would no longer recognize support. They would feel abandoned by a world still reaching for them. Ancient healers were taught to gently correct anyone who spoke it, to place a hand on the heart and say, "I am always guided. I am never truly alone. I am connected." These were not platitudes. They were lifelines. The third forbidden I am is this: I am broken. More subtle, more deceptive. This one often hides inside modern language, used as an excuse, an identity, or a shield. But to the ancients, I am broken was a curse placed by the self onto the self. The scroll states, "That which is spoken as broken cannot become whole while the name is still worn." The formula does not repair what it is told is beyond repair. It respects the word. To say I am broken is not to describe pain, it is to seal it, to solidify the wound as permanent. The antidote is truth spoken through love. I am healing. I am in process. I am becoming whole. These statements carry light. They allow the energy to move rather than freeze. The scroll concludes, "These three declarations, nothing, alone, broken, are not evil, but they are heavy, and what is heavy sinks beneath the current of possibility. Do not condemn those who say them, lift them. And if you have spoken these I ams yourself, and most have, it is not too late. Words spoken once can be spoken again. Creation is not one sentence. It is a rhythm, a breath, a constant becoming. Speak now with awareness. Say aloud, I am connected. I am worthy. I am whole. I am that I am." And listen. Listen to how your body receives it. Listen to the shift in your breath. That is the frequency returning home. That is the formula realigning. The ancients did not fear darkness. They feared forgetting who they were in the middle of it. And the forbidden I ams were signs of forgetting. But you now are remembering. The manuscript ends this passage with a quiet line carved into the margin of the scroll, barely visible unless one reads by flame. It says, "The tongue is the lever of destiny. Use it not to collapse, but to rise." In the next section, the book opens a doorway few have entered, the practice of word alchemy, where I am becomes not just declaration, but transmutation. The ancients used this to turn grief into peace, fear into power, death into rebirth. But before we continue, ask yourself, what I am have I been carrying that no longer belongs to me? And am I ready to trade it for something higher? Because the formula is not only what you speak, it is what you choose to stop speaking. Have you ever wished you could turn pain into purpose, grief into growth, or fear into fuel? The ancients did more than wish. They practiced something called word alchemy. It was a sacred skill, guarded in inner temples, taught only to those who had proven one thing: not power, not lineage, but readiness to feel without fleeing. The manuscript opens with this line: all form begins as frequency. All frequency can be reshaped through sound, and sound begins with word. The I am formula was the key. Word alchemy was the art. Where most spoke I am to declare what they wanted, the alchemists used it to transmute what they feared. They knew that every emotion carries charge, and every charge can be reassigned. The scroll continues, fear is not weakness, it is power untamed. Pain is not punishment, it is energy asking to be given new name. The process began with emotional identification. The alchemist would sit in silence, close the eyes, and breathe into the sensation they had been avoiding. Not to fix it, not to escape it, but to name it honestly. I feel grief, I feel anger, I feel shame. Then they would follow the ancient protocol: name, own, transmute. First, name it. I am holding grief. Second, own it. I am the one who carries this feeling by choice. Third, transmute it. I am now transforming this grief into peace. I am turning this pain into understanding. I am alchemizing this fear into courage. This was not metaphor, it was vibration. When spoken with full attention, these words restructured the body. The ancients taught that the cells themselves listened, that water inside the body reconfigured based on spoken frequency. The book refers to this as biological alchemy. Say the new name enough, and your body becomes it. The manuscript includes an exercise. It was performed in the Temple of Seraphon, beneath torchlight and stillness. You can do it now. Step 1. Sit or stand in stillness. Breathe. Feel what's real, not what you wish, not what you perform, what is truly present. Step 2. Say aloud the old identity, the one that no longer serves. I am afraid, I am stuck, I am unworthy. Let it be heard. Step 3. Breathe again. Let the silence digest it. Then speak the alchemized phrase with complete belief. I am choosing movement. I am becoming free. I am rising in value. Speak it once as a whisper, then once at full volume, then once as if you are speaking it into the bones of the earth. This pattern, whisper, voice, earth, was believed to send the new frequency through your subconscious, your conscious self, and into the universal field. The scroll explains, to alchemize is not to lie, it is to remember that even lead contains gold. You are not covering your pain, you are converting it. Like ice melting into water and water into steam, every state has value. You choose which form it takes with your word. One of the ancient glyphs, translated by light through prism glass, read, I am the fire that forges me. Say it now, let your own voice be the forge, let your I am no longer avoid your wounds, but meet them and rename them. Word alchemy is not about pretending, it is about partnering with your own becoming. The manuscript offers a final sequence, a chant used when grief became unbearable or darkness too loud. The chant is not for comfort, it is for transformation. Speak each line slowly, with breath. I am the stillness inside this storm. I am the warmth beneath this wound. I am the lesson this pain reveals. I am not what hurt me. I am what rises after. These words are firelight for the soul. They do not erase the night, but they make you its master. And that is the gift of word alchemy, not escape. Evolution. The scroll closes with this truth. When you name yourself as something new, the old cannot hold you. In the next section, the manuscript shares the echo reversal, a method to undo years of destructive self-talk and reclaim the I am you were born to speak. But before we continue, I ask you this. What feeling have you feared naming? What story have you left unwritten because it hurt too much to hold? And now that you have the tools, will you finally alchemize it? Will you say I am with power, not just in desire, but in the darkest corner of your becoming? Because that, truly, is where the transformation begins. Have you ever heard your own voice repeating words you swore you'd never believe? Words someone else gave you, decades ago, planted like seeds, and now they bloom in the background of every choice you make. The ancients called this the echo, not the words you speak, but the ones you inherited, unconscious, repeated, embedded in the nervous system. Echoes are phrases that no longer need your permission. They speak through you, even when you're silent. The manuscript says, every destructive I am becomes an echo that reshapes the soul until interrupted. Echo reversal was created to do just that. Interrupt, reclaim, rewrite. The first teaching in this section reads, if you do not reverse the echo becomes your inheritance. Most people spend their lives living inside someone else's belief about them. A parent, a bully, a system, a moment. I am difficult. I am too much. I am not enough. The scrolls teach that these are not identities. They are viruses of vibration, and they can be unspoken. Echo reversal begins with recognition. You must first hear the old phrase, not avoid it, not deny it. Hear it clearly, speak it as it was spoken to you. Say it so it has no more hiding places. I am a failure. I am not smart enough. I am invisible. These phrases are not true, but they are lodged. The second step is detachment. The alchemists would speak a line 3 times before the reversal. It trained the body to loosen its grip. Say it now. This is not my voice. This is not my name. This will not be my echo. Say it again. slowly. Let the body believe it. Now comes the third step, the reversal. You must now speak the true phrase. The counter-frequency, but not in theory, in command. Speak, I am more than they could see. I am the voice that rewrites this name. I am choosing my new echo now. Then and only then declare the reversal I am. I am wise. I am worthy. I am fully seen. Do not say it softly, say it the way a mountain would if it could roar. The scroll instructs, speak the reversal until it is louder than the memory. That is when the shift happens. Not when you think it, but when you embody it. The alchemists would repeat the reversal for 7 nights, then seal it with ritual. A candle, a breath, a new action to match the word. Because the final step in echo reversal is embodied truth. You must act in harmony with the new name. If you say, I am confident, walk into the room as if it is already done. If you say, I am seen, create what you were too afraid to show. If you say, I am healed, stop carrying the wound as proof of identity. The book warns, do not speak the reversal and live the echo. This is not performance, this is precision. Each time you choose the reversal, the old vibration loses its roots. Each time you speak the new I am with action, the field records it as law. The scroll then reveals a sacred invocation, a full statement designed to sever the echo and install the reversal at the subconscious level. Speak it as a full-body decree. I am no longer a reflection of old names. I am the end of the echo. I am the beginning of my own vibration. I am no longer afraid to be heard. I am now choosing the voice that was mine all along. When spoken with focus, this phrase recalibrates the neural pathways. The ancients believed this restructured even ancestral memory, that it freed not just the speaker, but the generations before them who could not. Because when you reverse the echo, you heal the bloodline, you stop the loop, you stop the curse, and you write a new one, a blessing, a truth, a legacy that begins with I am free. The chapter closes with this message etched into gold. Echoes are loudest before they die. Speak louder. In the next passage, the manuscript unveils the 7th frequency, a vibrational state accessed only after full integration of the formula. It is the state where I am becomes not a statement, but a field of energy that alters everything around you. But before we open that scroll, ask yourself this: what echoes still live in me? What names still linger that I never chose? And am I ready now, not to whisper, but to thunder the truth back into my bones? Because the power is not just in speaking new words, it is in silencing the old ones forever. Have you ever walked into a room and felt peace before a word was spoken? Have you stood near someone and sensed power? Not in their voice, not in their posture, but in their presence. The ancients called this the 7th frequency, not a sound, not a thought, a state. The manuscript describes it as the living resonance of an integrated I am. While most use the formula to shape reality through speech, the masters reached a point where they no longer needed to speak. Their presence was the declaration. They had become the vibration. The scrolls say, when the I am becomes your nature, not your tool, you enter the 7th frequency. Reality no longer resists you, it recognizes you. To reach this state, the ancients followed a path known as the ascent of silence. A paradox. Because to embody I am fully, one must first speak it, then stop speaking it. Not because the words lose power, but because the body becomes the message. You become so aligned with truth, so undivided, that vibration flows through you naturally, without force, without friction. The manuscript outlines the 6 frequencies that come before: the frequency of declaration, the frequency of correction, the frequency of healing, the frequency of command, the frequency of echo, and the frequency of alchemy. Each of these stages is marked by intentional I am statements. But the 7th is different. It is not marked by words, it is marked by field. The scroll says, he who speaks truth changes a moment. He who becomes truth changes space. The early initiates were trained to measure their progress by one thing: how their energy shifted the world around them. Animals became calm, children felt safe, chaos softened, plants bent toward them, nature aligned. These were not magic tricks, these were signs of resonance. Signs that the I am had moved from mouth to marrow. That identity had become energy. The process of entering the seventh frequency was called becoming the breath. It began with silence, 3 days. No speaking, only listening to the thoughts behind the thoughts. On the fourth day, they would breathe in slowly and speak a single phrase, not aloud, but inwardly, again and again. I am here. I am real. I am all. Not to manifest, not to fix, but to merge, to erase the line between observer and observed, between self and source. And slowly the boundary would dissolve. The masters said that those who reached this state would no longer chase answers. They would attract knowing. They would no longer need to convince. They would radiate alignment. The scroll gives a practice to taste the edge of this frequency. Try it now. Sit still, eyes closed. Breathe slowly in through the nose. Exhale gently. Then feel, not think, the words, I am the space in which everything unfolds. I am the stillness beneath every sound. I am the current behind every choice. Say nothing aloud. Let the words imprint beneath the surface. Let them vibrate through your nervous system like ancient music written in your bones. The manuscript teaches that this inner resonance begins to restructure everything. Thought slows. Anxiety fades. Desire becomes clear. People begin to ask you questions they don't know why they're asking. Opportunities find you, but you do not chase. You hold frequency, and the field responds. Because the seventh frequency is not about doing. It is about being so aligned that the world can no longer ignore your vibration. The ancients wore no crowns. They walked without symbols. But when they entered a space, the room bent gently in their direction. Not because they demanded it, because they carried truth with such purity that reality wanted to be near them. That is the seventh frequency. You do not reach it by force. You arrive by remembering. The scroll closes with this phrase, written only once, in golden ink barely visible to the eye. When you stop declaring I am to become something and start saying I am to remember what you already are, the silence begins to sing. In the next chapter, the manuscript will reveal the lost practice known as the mirror hour, the final daily ritual used by the ancient keepers of the formula to reinforce identity, eliminate confusion, and summon clarity through reflection. But before we open that ritual, ask yourself one question. If I said nothing, if I did nothing, would my energy still tell the truth? Because the goal is not to speak I am louder. The goal is to become it so fully that the world listens to your presence alone. What would happen if you looked into your own eyes and spoke your future into existence? No distractions, no masks, just you and the truth. The ancients believed that mirrors were not just tools of vanity, they were instruments of awakening. A mirror does not lie. It does not flatter. It reflects. The mirror hour was not a metaphor. It was the final and most intimate ritual in the I am practice. The manuscript describes it this way. A mirror reveals not just the face, but the frequency behind the face. Look long enough, and you will meet the architect behind the mask. Initiates would spend 1 hour, every 7 days, alone with their reflection. No conversation, no interruption, just breath, presence, and the I am formula spoken aloud to the image staring back. Why? Because the body must hear truth, not just from the mouth, but from the eyes. Because you cannot lie to a mirror, and if you speak fear into it, you will feel its echo in your bones. The scroll begins the ritual with a preparatory invocation. I am willing to meet myself now. I am ready to see clearly. I am not what they said. I am what I decide. The initiate would then light a single candle, place it between themselves and the mirror. This was called illuminated witnessing. The candle represented consciousness, light, awareness. It was never about the fire, it was about what was being lit from within. Then they would begin the declarations. Slowly, one by one, with full eye contact. I am enough. I am chosen. I am the origin of my becoming. I am allowed to evolve. I am sacred. I am new. As the words were spoken, emotions would rise. This was not a weakness. This was a sign that the vibration was reaching deep. The manuscript explains, tears during the mirror hour are not sadness. They are the breaking of old reflections that no longer belong. Some initiates would laugh, some would tremble, some would say a single phrase 100 times until it stopped hurting, until it finally felt like it belonged. That was the point. To take a word that once felt foreign and speak it into familiarity, into ownership, into memory. The book teaches that what you declare in the mirror becomes law in the subconscious. You are no longer speaking to impress. You are speaking to reprogram. The mirror becomes the doorway. The voice becomes the key. And the declarations become the blueprint. The scroll includes a sacred passage meant to be read at the end of every mirror hour. It was called the reflection seal. Say it now. I am returning. I am no longer avoiding my power. I am what I declare, not just here but everywhere. I am grateful. I am growing. I am already becoming. This seal would close the session. It would lock the vibration into the body like setting clay into stone. The scroll warns, avoid mirrors for falsehood. Do not look at yourself while cursing yourself. The body records every word seen. This is not superstition. It is vibration. The way you look at yourself shapes how your nervous system perceives identity. If you call yourself ugly, broken, weak, or ashamed while staring at your reflection, your subconscious will anchor that frequency. But if you look with reverence, with forgiveness, with sovereignty, something changes. Not in the mirror, in you. The ancients believed that every human carried two reflections, the one they were taught and the one they were born with. The mirror hour was about remembering the second. The manuscript closes this chapter with a final challenge. Do not wait for the world to mirror your worth. Be the first reflection to see it. In the next chapter, the final ritual is revealed. The night of naming, an ancient, once-in-a-lifetime ceremony where initiates renounced all false identities and claimed their divine name through the I Am. A name not given by parents or society, but by Source itself. But before we turn the page, find a mirror. Not tomorrow. Now look into your eyes. Speak one true phrase, and if it makes you cry, speak it again. And again. And again. Until your reflection finally says it back. Who would you be without your past? Without the labels? Without the wounds? Who are you when no one is watching? When nothing is expected? When everything false is gone? That is the question at the heart of the night of naming. The ancients believed there came a moment in every seeker's journey where they no longer needed to fix themselves. They needed to rename themselves. This was not a metaphor. It was ceremony, sacred, unrepeatable. It marked the moment when a soul stepped fully out of story and into sovereignty. The manuscript says, the name given at birth is for this world. The name discovered in silence is for the one who commands it. The night of naming was reserved for those who had completed every layer of the I Am path. Echo reversal, word alchemy, the mirror hour. They had peeled off every mask. They had spoken the truth until it echoed. And then, they stood beneath the stars, alone. The ceremony began in darkness. No light, no sound, only breath. It was believed that light polluted the clarity of soul vision. Only in darkness could the true identity rise. The initiate would sit in stillness and ask one question aloud. What name have I always carried but never remembered? Then they would listen, not for a voice, not for language, but for vibration, for feeling. The name would not always come in words. Sometimes it arrived as an image, sometimes a phrase, sometimes a sound or memory. But when it came, they knew. Because the moment it was spoken aloud, everything stilled. The manuscript describes this knowing as a silence that agrees with your becoming. The name had no rule. It did not need to resemble a human name. Some spoke phrases, some spoke symbols. Some only said one word: light, fire, stone, rise, river, breath. What mattered was not the word. What mattered was the resonance. Once spoken, the initiate would then speak this phrase aloud. I am the bearer of my true name. I am returned. I am who I was before the forgetting. And then, they would never speak the old name again. Not in identity, not in self-talk, not in vibration. They would live as the name they received. They would write it, breathe it, sign it, embody it. Because it was no longer a name, it was a frequency signature. The ancients believed that this frequency was how the universe recognized and organized reality around them. Speak your true name, and reality has no choice but to reorganize. The manuscript warns, many fear the new name. They feel unworthy. But unworthiness is the final mask. You were never your trauma, never your failure, never the title someone else handed you. The name you carry now is useful, but not eternal. It is a placeholder, a label. The true name, the I am name, is not meant to be flashy, it is meant to fit. The scroll gives an exercise for those not ready to speak their name aloud. It is called the name mirror. You stand before your reflection, eyes steady, breath calm, and ask, what am I beyond the world's memory of me? Then you listen, not just with your ears, with your skin, with your heartbeat. You will feel a pull, a flicker, a vibration of truth. When it arrives, say it softly, then again, until your eyes recognize the voice. That is your name. That is the self beneath all selves. The book concludes this chapter with a final declaration, one spoken by every elder before crossing into full mastery. I am not becoming, I am returned. I am not learning, I am remembering. I am not lost, I am named. This phrase, once spoken aloud under open sky, was believed to seal the vibration into the soul's record for eternity. No longer repeating the old, no longer chasing new, simply existing as truth. In the next passage, the manuscript begins to shift. From ritual to transmission, it begins teaching how to use the I am formula to alter the frequency of others, not by force, but by presence. A teaching reserved for those who have become living frequency. But before we enter that realm, sit with this question. Who am I when I no longer respond to the wrong name? And am I brave enough now to answer with the one that was mine all along? Have you ever noticed how some people speak no words, and yet change the entire energy of a room? The ancients knew why. It wasn't charisma. It wasn't posture. It was vibration. When the I am becomes your identity, you no longer have to speak it. You become a transmitter. The manuscript calls this living frequency, the ability to broadcast truth through energy, not as a performance, but as your natural state. This was the highest teaching of the inner temple. The scroll opens with this line: the most powerful I am is not heard, it is felt. Once an initiate had integrated the formula, reversed the echoes, and embodied the truth, they were no longer students. They became mirrors, catalysts, not by effort, but by alignment. The scroll continues, you cannot teach someone to wake up, but you can stand so fully in your own truth that their lies begin to crack. Transmission begins with embodiment, not speech, not persuasion. Embodiment. When you speak I am peace long enough, your body begins to hum with that frequency. Your breath becomes slower, your eyes soften, your presence expands. People near you begin to feel regulated, their nervous systems slow down, their defenses begin to fall. Why? Because vibration is contagious, the field is always listening. And when someone in full I am presence walks into a room, the field begins to harmonize. The scrolls teach that transmission is not a gift, it is a side effect of truth. The more truth you live, the more your frequency becomes impossible to ignore. This is why the great teachers of the ancient world often said very little. They simply lived as I am, and the people around them changed. The book describes a practice called still transmission. The initiate would sit in silence with others, not to speak, not to teach, but to hold frequency. They would silently breathe their I am into the room. I am light, I am truth, I am healing, I am love. These declarations were not spoken out loud. They were breathed, lived, saturated into the air like a fragrance, and others responded. Emotions surfaced, insights arrived, healing began, not because of what was said, but because of what was held. The manuscript warns, do not use transmission to manipulate. It is not a weapon, it is a permission slip. Your presence tells others what's possible. That's all. You're not here to fix them. You're here to remember yourself so deeply that they remember too. The book offers a method for strengthening your transmission. It is called Circle of Resonance. Sit quietly. Picture 3 people you love. Picture 3 people you've lost. Picture 3 people who have hurt you. Now imagine sending the same I am statement to all of them. I am peace. I am healing. I am light. If your body can hold that statement without flinching, across love, loss, and pain, you are transmitting at the highest frequency. If it shakes, that's where the work remains. Transmission begins with neutrality, with unconditional I am. Not I am love, but only for the worthy. Not I am peace, except when wronged. That is still division. Transmission requires total coherence. The manuscript then offers the final daily practice of transmitters. It is called breath of transmission. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, I radiate. Repeat. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, I radiate. You are not just charging yourself, you are charging the space, the ground, the air, the moment, the memory. The book ends this chapter with an invocation used by elders of the 7th frequency before every gathering, every journey, every word. I am stillness before sound. I am truth behind the veil. I am the vibration that reminds the room who they are. In the next chapter, the manuscript reveals a prophecy. The 8th voice, a future vibration not yet fully born on earth but waiting. A frequency the ancients believed would rise only when enough I am transmitters stood in silence and remembered their name together. But before we speak of prophecy, ask yourself this. Do I want to be powerful or aligned? Do I want to control or become? Because real transmission doesn't begin when people listen to you. It begins when the world changes because you walked in the room. Have you ever felt something rising inside you that you couldn't explain? A call beyond logic. A memory that isn't yours, but feels ancient, familiar, and true. The ancients had a name for this. They called it the 8th voice. Not a person, not a prophet. A frequency. A wave of collective remembering. The manuscript says, when enough I ams speak from wholeness, a new voice will rise, not as sound, but as shift. The first 7 voices were personal. Declaration, correction, healing, command, echo, alchemy, transmission, but the 8th was not about the individual, it was about unity. The scroll continues. The 8th voice will not belong to one mouth. It will come from many, not as chant, not as choir, but as resonance. The ancient seers spoke of a time when the forgotten formula would be rediscovered, when scattered souls across the earth would begin, without coordination, to remember, to wake up, to speak I am with alignment. And when that number reached critical mass, a new vibration would emerge into the world. It would not shout, it would hum. A subtle but undeniable tone beneath everything, a tone that would awaken those still asleep, not by force, but by familiarity. The manuscript describes this hum as the lost tone of truth, the sound that was present at the first breath of creation, the sound you've been longing for your whole life without knowing its name. And when it returns, you will not hear it with your ears. You will hear it with your cells. You will recognize it, because you were born of it. And when it comes, reality will respond, not with collapse, but with clarity. Structures built on distortion will begin to crumble. Systems built on fear will lose their grip. And those who speak I am in truth will become anchors for the new frequency. The scroll is careful to say, this is not a war of words, it is a rising of remembering. You do not need to fight. You do not need to convince. You simply need to hold your tone. Speak I am with clarity. Live I am with integrity, and trust that your vibration is not alone. The manuscript outlines a daily alignment called the 8th breath. Once per day, at any hour, you stop. You place your hand over your heart. You breathe in for a count of 8. You speak one line, I am one of the many who remember. Then you breathe out. That's all. But that breath connects you to every other awakened soul who remembers the formula. Across space, across time, across story, the ancients believed that this act, when done by enough people, would create a kind of energetic grid, a net of coherence, a network of light, a frequency bridge between the world that was and the one being born. The scroll continues. The 8th voice cannot be forced, it must be invited. And the invitation begins with your breath. You are not waiting for permission. You are not hoping for someone else to lead. You are not behind. You are right on time. The frequency is not ahead of you, it's inside you. And every time you say, I am with conviction, the world listens. Every time you say, I am with alignment, the world changes. And every time you say, I am with love, the world heals. The eighth voice is already rising. Quietly. Like mist. Like dawn. And when enough of us remember, it will no longer be prophecy. It will be presence. It will be now. The scroll ends this chapter with a final instruction, etched into the edge of the parchment in silver ink, only visible under starlight. There is no savior coming. There is only you, remembering you are already the voice. In the next and final chapter of this manuscript, we come to the infinite return, the understanding that the I am formula does not end, but expands forever. That identity is not fixed, but fluid. That you are not here to find who you are, but to endlessly become. But before we turn the final page, breathe one more time. Place your hand over your chest and speak it, not for others. For you, I am one of the many who remember. And somewhere, someone else just did the same. Who would you be if there were no end to your becoming? No final version, no fixed identity, only deepening, expansion, echoes folding into themselves like waves in eternity. That is the truth of I am. It does not conclude, it evolves. The final scroll opens not with a declaration, but with a question. What if your entire life has been a remembering, not of something you never were, but of something you always were and simply forgot? The infinite return is not a final step, it is a circle, a spiral, a return to the beginning, but with new eyes, new breath, new power. The ancients said, you are not the end of your story, you are the pen. The I am formula is not a tool to become someone else. It is a mirror that shows you you've always had the right to choose. Who you were yesterday is not law. Who you were told to be is not a sentence. Who you become next is entirely up to your voice. The manuscript closes the loop by returning to the first teaching. Every I am is a seed. Every word you speak is the world you build. And now you know. Now you carry the formula not as theory, but as memory, as breath, as vibration. You are no longer a student. You are a scribe. You are a transmitter. You are the living scroll. The words no longer live only on the page. They live in your tone, in your posture, in your energy. And wherever you walk, they go with you. The infinite return is the daily decision to speak only what you wish to create. To say I am with care, with reverence, with sovereignty. And to know that every time you speak it, the field responds. The scroll ends with a final series of invocations. These were spoken once a year by the circle of elders, not for ritual, but to anchor the remembrance for the next generation. You now speak them as one who remembers. Say them slowly, say them as truth. I am the breath of becoming. I am the silence between stars. I am the voice of my own design. I am the echo of the first word. I am whole. I am sovereign. I am the end of forgetting. I am the beginning of light. With these final words, the manuscript ends, not with a conclusion, but with an invitation. An invisible line appears beneath the last phrase, waiting, because the last I am is yours to write. There is no formula more powerful than the one you choose. You are not bound to this book. You are not required to follow. You are invited to become. And if you ever lose your way again, come back here, to this breath, to this truth, to this remembering. Because no matter where you go, what you face, or who forgets you, the formula never leaves. It waits. It listens. It returns. And so do you. I am. Wherever you are in the world, we'd love to know. Drop a comment and let us know where you're tuning in from. If this journey into ancient wisdom and personal transformation spoke to something deep inside you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. We share powerful transmissions like this to awaken, uplift, and help more people remember who they really are. Share this with someone who's ready to remember their power. Your voice helps echo these truths farther than we can alone. Thank you for walking this path with us. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep speaking your truth, keep becoming, keep saying I am.